everything. So welcome everyone to the Wild Salmon Warrior Rally. We're here today because we are here to stand up for our wild salmon and say no more fish farms in our water. So we all just marched over to the Cone Inquiry, and down came Alexandra Morton, and she's going to tell us about what's going on in there and what's really happening on our fish farm. So Alex, thank you so much for everything you do, and thank you for being here today.
Thank you guys. It's so wonderful to see you, because it's not going to get solved inside there. We're trying very, very hard, and we've learned a lot. Yesterday, the province reversed a decision to keep the disease databases secret, and they decided to release them. And I think that's in large part because 100 people paddled down the Fraser River in October in the rain and the wind, and then hundreds more in a downpour walked into the Cone Inquiry the first day, and that was our demand: release those databases. So finally I'm able to tell you what is in those databases, because I call Bob my chief. He's not responsible for me, but he's chief of the territory where I live, and if Bob tells me to stop, I would. But I said, Bob, I feel very uncomfortable because I know things about your salmon that you don't. And Bob said, that's okay, Alex, I trust you, stay in the inquiry and ride it to the end. And so today, I can tell you that the virus that is suspected to be killing and weakening the majority of the Fraser sockeye, the symptoms of that virus are also in the salmon farms on the Fraser sockeye migration route. And I can also tell you that that's primarily in Chinook farms, which is surprising. I think the Atlantics were worse, but the Chinook are just as bad. And when they took those Chinook farms out in July of 2007, we got back the 2010ers. That amazing run of sockeye did not go by farms with the symptoms of the virus that looks like it's in the majority of them, and neither did the 2011. So the pattern fits perfectly. Only the sockeye that are going north have been dying. The Harrison sockeye that goes south have been increasing over the last 18 years. All of this started, the sockeye started dying in the river full of eggs in 1992 when the salmon farm first appeared in the Discovery Islands, the narrow passages off Campbell River where these sockeye run. And then a scientist, Dr. Christy Miller, in DFO, so many sockeye have been dying before they spawned. The DFO realized they couldn't just do a test set in Johnson Straits and figure out how many fish the fishermen would be allowed to catch. They had to find out how many were going to be dying before they had spawned. And Dr. Miller found out that it's a virus. She didn't expect to find that. And she doesn't really care where it comes from. But it is very, very, very similar to the virus that has been in the salmon farms. And when she found that out, they said she couldn't talk to the public. She was guarded by people when she came to the commission, large men with earpieces on either side of her. We weren't allowed to talk to her. Her funding has been cut. She's not allowed to work on sockeye anymore. So you can know that truth is not being served here. The people have not been served. We don't have proof, but we have enormous weight of evidence. And unless people like you press for the truth and for these fish farms to be removed out of the narrow passages of the Discovery Islands, the wild salmon narrows, some people call them, we will lose our sockeye. I really, this is not a job for me. My friends Don Staniford and Anissa and I are running ourselves ragged doing this. I don't want anybody to pay me to be up here because I want to speak the truth as I see it. So for me to come out of that inquiry, and we could hear all of you, and it was wonderful, and Justice Cohen could hear you, and the people on the stand could hear you. And it was wonderful. But all I can really say is, you have the power. They don't. I don't. You have the power, and those sockeye are speaking to us in the only way that they can. As soon as they got a break, they came back in such spectacular numbers. They fed millions of organisms, from bears and eagles and whales and people. They brought millions of dollars into these communities. That is the real economy. They fed people throughout the Fraser system. And I understand there's a lot of things in the world that are not fair, and it is not fair if the people in the Discovery Islands want salmon farms. It's not fair maybe for us to say you can't have them, but that's the way it is, because 1/3 of all of British Columbia's salmon go through those narrow passages. And so they have to be told that we need to protect these fish. But they can't be told by me. All I can do is drag this thing out, fighting and kicking into the daylight, and then somebody else has to come in here and say, enough. These farms have got to get out. There's a better way of doing these things. We can find jobs for the people in the industry, but we can't let these fish go down, because they are our bloodstream. They are feeding us. They go out to the open ocean and they're bringing food back to us. They are so generous. We would be foolish beyond repair to not take a stand right now. So thank you all for coming.
Okay, next up we're going to bring some of our representatives from the Union of BC Indian Chiefs. So, Grand Chief Stuart Phillip, Chief Marilyn Baptiste, and Chief Bob Chamberlain, come on up. With some singers too, we're going to get another song. Oh, by the way, I'm Trina Allison. I work for the Wilderness Committee. I'm a professional yeller.
So, did you announce this is a song?
So this is a song that